Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now I do all things crafty, but on today's video, I'm going to compare 4 different types of sublimation papers. Now on my last video, I had received some things from HTV Ront to try out on my channel. And one of the things I received was their sublimation paper. Well, before I use it very much or put it on an expensive tumbler or shirt, I want to compare it against some other papers that I've used. Now what's interesting is this printer's jack has been my go-to paper. I love it. The camera might not pick this up, but at least before pressing it, the printer's jack and the Hippo probably have the least amount of detail. I mean, you still see everything, but it's not quite as crisp. Actually, this HTV Ront is very crisp. The A-Sub is fairly crisp. But you know what? I don't care what they look like before you press them, because you're going to sell them as a finished product. Now I was playing around with different papers the other day, and I already have an experiment going, but I want to do this one on film so you see it for yourself. So let's see, this is Koala brand paper, and this material is rather thin, so you can kind of see things under it. So let me put it on more of a white background. Okay, so this was Koala brand, and you see it's not even in my stack of papers I'm going to test because I ran out. Okay, so this next paper is the HTV Ront. And look at that, it's very vibrant. And then this last paper is a printer's jack. The back of this is a very, very light pink that may not even show up on camera. They have paper where the back is blue and paper where the back is pink. This is the pink background, or the pink backside. And there it is. So when I did this experiment, because again, this has been my go-to paper, I was amazed at this HTV Ront outcome. So I decided let's go ahead and compare it to a few other papers. So here's what I'm going to compare it to. I have A-Sub, printer's jack, and again, this is the very light pink background, and that's been my go-to paper. HTV Ront, and then Hippo. Now the only paper that I have bought here is the A-Sub, and even though I got these to try out and didn't have to pay for them, I'm going to show you everything, and then if I have a clear what I think is clearly better than the others, I'm going to at least give you my opinion, but you'll be able to see for yourself. Now I almost didn't want to press this Hippo because I want to show you something. When I print with the Hippo, if I'm printing something that's just black, I get red bleed out of the black. And it's not quite as crisp on the edges, and then you're going to see some red bleeding out of that. I'm going to put that really close to the camera so you can see what I'm talking about. Now I've gone ahead and pre-pressed my fabric, and then I'm going to use a little bit of heat tape. Okay, y'all, I just lost my mind and started taping those the wrong way. But we have it all straightened out now, so let's go over to the heat press and get these all pressed. Now, I'm going to go ahead and press these for 50 seconds on 390 degrees. Typically, I do 385 for 45 seconds, but I want to kind of go in the middle of what different people use. Some people use lower temps, some higher, some less time, some more. But I will press all 4 of these at the same time and the same temp. And then I want to reveal these in front of you, so I'm going to press them, put them back on my table, and then we'll look at them together. Now the order I'm going to do these in is the Hippo, the HTV Ront, printer's jack, and then A-Sub. And I'm just going to do these rapid fire. Okay, I'm excited to see the results because I have not tried this other than the 3 that I did the other day on this large fabric. I haven't tried these yet. And the designs on those were all fairly light colors. So this time I picked a design with some darker colors. Okay, so this is the Hippo brand. And the colors are beautiful. But I see that red that bled out of the black. Now, I did not lint roll these, so you might see little blotches of dark blue or black, and that's just from lint and stuff like that. That is not the fault of the paper. It's not the fault of the ink. It's my fault for not lint rolling. Now, the other thing I notice on this is those pizza wheels. So the wheels that push your paper through dragged some of the ink into the rest of the design. Now, I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's the red bleeding out. And then right here is where I see the pizza wheel marks. Now, again, the colors are beautiful, but I can't live with that red bleeding out. Okay, so this next one, I believe, yes, this is the HTV Ront. And let's see what we get. Very pretty. Again, I have some little blotches because I didn't use my lint roller, but it's not the fault of the paper or the ink. Now, I would say the colors of these two are very, very similar, almost identical. But this one doesn't have the red bleeding out, and it didn't leave the pizza wheel marks. All right, so let's check one of my all-time favorites, this printer's jack. Okay, so now one thing is jumping out at me. On the printer's jack, it did bleed through onto the blowout paper that was here. And then on the HTV Ront, it didn't. So now, if the results are the same, I really don't care because I'm always going to use blowout paper. It's just an observation I had. Now, one thing I noticed before I pressed this is the black where it said printer's jack had a little bit more of a bluish black look before I pressed it. But now that I've pressed it, those blacks look pretty close to the same. I'm really trying to look closely at the vibrancy and the contrast between the blue and the black in the hair, and I'm not seeing much difference. Now, I got both papers for free, so it really doesn't matter which one I say I like better. But I do feel like the black is a little bit more crisp in the hair right here on this one than that one. They're both beautiful, though. I don't think you could go wrong with either one of these, at least from my experiment. Okay, so the A-sub, there's a little bit that bled through, but not as much as there was on the printer's jack. Again, I'm not concerned about that because I'm always going to use blowout paper. Okay, so I took a minute to really get close and look at this. This A-sub looks almost identical to the printer's jack. And the A-sub and the printer's jack look very, very similar to the HTV Ront. But again, the black in the hair on this one is just a little bit more crisp. Now on these colors, I don't see that there's really any difference between any of them. My only issue with this hippo is the red bleeding out and the pizza wheel marks. And I didn't have those marks on any of the other papers, and I didn't have that red bleed out on any of the other papers. So some of you probably use hippo and have excellent results. And that's great. That's what we all want. It's just not going to work for me. I love all three of these results. So with that being said, my next experiment is going to be to use this HTV Ront paper on a tumbler. Well, thanks so much for joining me today and sticking it out while I did my little experiment. And until my next video, bye-bye.